Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling, and welcome to a slightly later video in the day, because I just got back from a game. So, we're covering, of course, the Necron's Detachment for Grotmus, the Star Shatter Arsenal. I've glanced over this, but because I had a game today, I didn't have as much time to go over it, so this will be more of a raw reaction video than my more analytical looks at things, so of course I will still give my thoughts on everything. Relentless Onslaught is the detachment rule. Each time a Necron's model from your army makes an attack that targets a unit within range of one or more objective markers, add one to the hit roll. In addition, ranged weapons equipped by Necron vehicles and Necron-mounted models, excluding Titanic models, from your army have the Assault ability. So this would apply to canoptek doomstalkers, Locust heavy destroyers, what's the word I'm looking for? Doomsday arcs, etc. And +1 to hit against enemies on objective is pretty useful. It'll mean a lot of units will be hitting on 3s, and even things like doomstalkers will be hitting on, or it means most units will be hitting on 2s, and canoptek units will be hitting on 3s most usually. The assault ability is always useful, especially on something that might be a little slower, and even things that are quite fast, like Locust destroyers. The extra boost of speed is still very useful. Next up, we have enhancements. Dread Majesty is an aura for 30 points, so rather expensive. This is for an Overlord or Catacomb command barge, while a friendly Necron unit, excluding Titanic units, is within 6 inches of the bearer. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1 and a reroll a wound roll of 1. This is a very, very powerful ability, and allows you to go back to almost like slightly 8th edition castle-type builds, just because this is such a powerful ability. Put this on a character, and then his unit will be getting this, and then you can also, of course, have some Doomsday Arcs floating alongside them, just ripping off insanely powerful attacks that are way more consistent than they'd usually be, even more so if they're on an objective. This is definitely really strong, and I'd say even for 30 points it's worth it. So Miniaturized Nebula Scope is our next one. This is for a Necron's model. Ranged weapons equipped by the models in the bear's units have the Ignores Cover ability. This is pretty solid in my opinion. This really excels on low AP weapons like Gauss, the big Gauss blasters that Immortals use, or for example, this would be really good on destroyers because they have AP2, so being able to ignore cover makes that all the more powerful. Though for 15 points, it's probably a bit more take or leave, but I still think it's a solid enhancement. Demanding Leader is 10 points. This is for a Necron only. In your movement phase, select one friendly Necron's vehicle or mounted unit, excluding Titanic, within 6 inches of the bearer. To the start of your next command phase, that unit is eligible to shoot in a turn which it fell back. Solid enough. This goes even further into buffing up vehicles. Though I'd say out of the ones we've seen so far, this one's pretty weak. Just because Necrons generally don't have an issue with staying out of harm's way with that, and also they tend to have a good amount of screens around. At least when I play against them or play with them, I tend to like having a lot of screens to protect my stuff, because they tend not to be the toughest. So having this is nice for certain, though not something I would particularly build around. Chrono Impedance Fields is 25 points. It's for a Necron model only. In your command phase, select one friendly Necron's vehicle or Necron's mounted unit, excluding Titanic, within 6 inches of the bearer. To the start of your next command phase, each time an attack is allocated to a model in that unit, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic. This is also excellent. Necrons don't have the toughest vehicles around, but this is definitely still useful, not only to push their toughness further, but there are certain units that I would say are decently tough, things like canoptek spiders, and you can have 2 of them with this up, which is pretty nice. Though, of course, this is the main thing that holds it back. You would love to put this on a monolith or something like that. But still, I'd say this is very useful, especially if you're trying to go very heavily with a vehicle of some kind. This could just be useful to keep it around a little bit more. One more thing I wanted to mention with Miniaturized Nebula Scope. Could also be really good on a Hexmark destroyer. Just because it'd be good on a Hexmark. Next up, we have the stratagems. Merciless Reclamation, 1 command point. Your shooting phase or fight phase. 1 Necron unit, excluding Titanic, from your army that has not been selected to shoot. To the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes an attack, the target of that attack is within range of 1 or more objective markers. Add 1 to the wound roll. +1 to wound is one of the single most powerful abilities you can have in the game, so having this on command is super good. It'd be very nice with something like in melee, for example. Lich Guard would really like this. Shooting, everything would really like this. Though, of course, maybe the best users of it would be, canoptek doomstalkers or doomsday arcs, just because they're already pretty high strength. It just makes them more consistent against toughest stuff in the game. And in general, this is just super useful to have around. Next up, we have Unyielding Forms. This is in your opponent shooting phase or the fight phase, just after an enemy unit selected its targets. So again, vehicles are mounted, excluding Titanic, from your army that was selected as target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attack. Till the end of the phase, each time an attack targets a model in your unit, the strength characteristic for that attack is greater than the toughness characteristic. Subtract 1 from the wound roll. Again, pretty useful to have on command. Very nice that you can put this on vehicles. Could make things like autocannons significantly less effective against the lower toughness stuff. And in general, it's very useful to have around. -1 to wound is very powerful and can be generally useful, though of course slightly more niche, as this one has the if the strength characteristic for the attack is greater than toughness. Next, we have Chrono Shift in your movement phase for 1 command point, 1 Necron vehicle or Necron mounted unit, excluding Titanic, from your army that's not been selected to move this phase. The effect is, until the end of the phase, if your unit advances, do not make an advance roll for it. Instead, until the end of the phase, add 6 to the move of your model. This is, again, pretty handy to have on command. Certainly better than command point rerolling in advance. This is really useful just for doing objective things. Of course, it was with vehicles or mounted, but even still, just getting this on destroyers, for example, could be pretty nice. And in general, this is just nice to have to give yourself an extra burst of speed if you desperately need it in like the last turn of the game. Dimensional Tunnel is 1 command point in your movement phase, so 1 Necron vehicle or Necron mounted, once again. This is until the end of the phase. Models in your unit can move horizontally through models and terrain features. Also super useful to have, just in case you are keeping a unit like a Doomsday Arc hidden. You can have it blast through a wall and be, just right. It can be very safe turn 1 and then plow through on its first turn that it can and alpha strike something. Endless Servitude is 1 command point at the end of your fight phase. This is a Necron unit, excluding Titanic, that is within range of 1 or more objective markers you control. Your unit's reanimation protocols activate. Generally pretty useful. Getting more reanimations is always useful, and this makes it harder to scrape you off objectives, which it already very much can be difficult to do. Then, for 1 command point, we have Reactive Reposition. In your opponent's shooting phase, just when an enemy unit is shot, 1 Necron unit from your army that was target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Your unit can make a normal move of d6 or up to 6 instead if it's a mounted or vehicle unit. So this is interesting and very much discourages chip-shotting your vehicles. And just having a reactive move can be very useful, whether it's to save a unit from dying or to get in closer if you desperately need that for whatever reason, if you just want to tank shock something, for example. But I would say this one isn't the most useful. What's the word I'm looking for? A reactive move, just because you have to take damage for it to activate. Though, technically you don't have to take damage, but it's after something shot at you. Being able to move is very useful. I would generally reserve it for mounted or vehicles, because with D6 inches, you could just move 1 inch and just waste a command point. So if you have a unit of destroyers that just got chipped by a bolter or something and want them to hide from the rest of the army, just fly them behind a building to keep them safe, which is very useful if you're, say, running a big unit of, say, was it 6 destroyers with like Dread Majesty, and you want to keep that unit safe. This would, of course, be a very useful way to do that. So it is very good, though, of course, if your entire unit gets wiped out, it's not the most useful. Anyways, I've been Spoons Rattling. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.